Oh, here we go. More Metal Gear Solid. Let's get back into it with Snake. I am so unbelievably hype. Oh, look at him with the stealth camouflage. He's bungee jumping off a bridge onto a boat. My god, that's so fucking alpha. I can't even. Yeah, fucking these dudes up on a boat. Brusky bastards. Sneaking about. Look at how gorgeous this is, by the way. Metal Gear with next-gen graphics. Straight into a boss fight. That's cool. Yeah, we're going to wreck her day for messing with us. And for having hairy pits. There's a Metal Gear. There's Revolver Ocelot. There's your super long and awesome cutscenes. I'm all in.
The terrorists call themselves Sons of Liberty.
Sons of Liberty?
The name of their leader is Solid Snake.
The hero of Shadow Moses? So that's why you changed my code name.
Who's this prick like? To understand what a bold move this was, we have to once again try to recall what it was like in the past. Yeah, we had the internet in 2002, but it wasn't like it is today. You didn't go straight to YouTube and find out about new games and see them played all the way through the minute they were released. There wasn't the same kind of extensive coverage. There wasn't a Twitter to read every minute detail of development and reception minute by minute. Our information was still largely coming from magazines, like I mentioned earlier, and their information largely came from the publishers and developers. So when those publishers and developers decided to hold back information, there wasn't really anything you could do about it. And in this case, we're talking about, depending on your perspective, the most egregious case of bait and switch bullshit ever, or one of the most bold and creative moves into meta-narrative storytelling in video game history. Kojima went so far as to create fake gameplay clips to use in the promotion, like this one with Snake fighting Fortune. It simply doesn't exist in the game, it was just to throw us off the scent. It also doesn't hurt that the game journalists of the era actually cared about the gamer experience and were willing to hold back spoilers from their reviews. Not like IGN just outright shouting endgame spoilers into the first 10 seconds of a video, seemingly for no other reason than to be proper dicks. Fuck IGN, by the way.
Look at me. I'm such a dick.
One of the best and most frustrating things about Metal Gear Solid 2 is that it starts out like a full-on, proper, actual sequel to the original. The entire tanker section, which is the only part of the game that was shown pre-release, presents our original protagonists, Snake and Otacon, having moved into philanthropy, tracking rogue Metal Gear trading and usage, which makes perfect sense for the two men we left in 1998, wondering how to find meaning in their lives after having their whole existence upended on Shadow Moses. This is pretty much exactly what every Metal Gear fan wanted the sequel to be. It was suspiciously exactly what every Metal Gear fan wanted it to be.
It's been a while, brother.
But once we're on the big shell and we switch to Raiden, everything changes. This is no longer a sequel. This is a full-on meta-narrative exploration of the notion of sequels and storytelling more generally. As we learn more about the new protagonist, we discover that Kojima is deliberately poking fun at our desire to embody Solid Snake. As fans of the original, we're desperate to step back into the shoes of our hero and go on another mission. But as Raiden, we're forced to ask ourselves why. What is it about him that we like, that we want to replicate? And to what degree would we be willing or able to embody that character, with no greater experience of him than in a fictional digital playground with no consequences?
All right, Raiden. You've already covered infiltration and VR training.
I've completed 300 missions in VR. I feel like some kind of legendary mercenary.
All of this, of course, dovetails quite nicely with Kojima's ever-present anti-war/disarmament stance that's woven through all of his games, encouraging us to see the action on screen not as something to be glorified or welcomed, but to be condemned and avoided.
People will remember only the good part, the right part of what you did.
There's no right part in murder. Not ever.
But it's not just the glorification of war that's critiqued here. Kojima takes aim at sequels as a concept by explicitly recreating the setting, action, story beats, pacing, character archetypes, and even specific characters from the original.
Neither enemy nor friend.
When the new ninja confronts you with this observation directly, you start to realise you're in the middle of something more than a story about terrorists taking over an oil tanker. Take Raiden himself as an example. As the player stand-in, he's perfect. He appears more physically slight and less intimidating than Snake. He's dangerously inexperienced, but has unearned confidence because of all the digital simulations he's done as part of his training. Oh, and he practically worships people like Solid Snake.
I've had extensive training, the kind that's indistinguishable from the real thing.
Like what?
Sneaking mission 60, weapons 80, advanced
VR, huh?
but realistic in every way.
A virtual grunt of the digital age, that's just great.
This is a pretty ballsy way of pointing out to the players that they're not Snake, they're just fanboys. The fragile layer of fiction collapses completely towards the end, with the game confronting you with the fact that every facet of it is a digital illusion. The codec, which was your constant source of info and lifeline throughout the first game, is revealed to be nothing but a sophisticated AI designed to fool you into completing this mission. Which I suppose is actually quite close to the truth. You're not really talking to anyone on it, are you? So when Campbell goes mental and starts ranting about scissors, it really does highlight the nature of the artifice.
I need scissors. 61.
The player, as Raiden, is asked multiple times why he cares so much about the mission. Why, given that he knows it's not real, that it's a fiction, why doesn't he literally turn off the game's console and go outside?
See, in the filmmaker's film, Jesus is a filmmaker trying to find God with his camera. But then the filmmaker realizes that he's actually Jesus and he's being filmed by God's camera. And it goes like that forever in both directions, like a mirror in a mirror, because all of the filmmakers are Jesus and all of their cameras are God. And the movie's called Abed. All caps.
The answer is because stories are important. They're how we make sense of the world, and they're the things we pass on. For Kojima, the language he uses to tell those stories is one he knows we are familiar with, the language of Hollywood action cinema, of tough guy heroes and suspenseful action. That's the language he uses to convey his message and his story, what he wants to pass on. So it's a story about stories in the end, but one that has immense value in this space, given that so few, if any, video games previously had attempted anything similar. I haven't talked much about the gameplay, and that's because this is a Metal Gear game. The gameplay mechanics are barely even besides the point. That's not why these things exist. Kojima has a story to tell, and the interactivity, what little there is, exists purely in service of that. So the core mechanics are much like before, with the overhead camera, Soliton radar and such. For what it's worth, the first-person aiming is a welcome addition, and there are neat touches here and there, such as being able to shake down soldiers for items by threatening them. But in most respects, this is more of the same. It would be generous in the extreme to suggest that being more of the same was an additional storytelling tool to critique the nature of sequels, just giving us more of the same instead of trying to innovate and be creative. I just don't think these games play well. Oh, but you can knock yourself out on the stairs now? So, yeah. Metal Gear Solid 2 is as confusing as it is original. Kojima took possibly the most anticipated sequel of all time and used it to critique the notion of sequels and the desires of his own audience. Whether or not you like it will depend on how much you respect the boldness of that decision. It's one I really wasn't keen on at the time at all, but I've grown to adore it in the years since. There will certainly never be another one like this.
Given the right situation, the right story, anyone can be shaped into Snake.